Not all prospects are created equal. What do I mean by that? We all as human beings have our own behavioral and communication styles. And, we all see the world slightly differently to each other. It's dangerous to assume that the way we see the world is the way that our potential prospect also sees the world, because the chances are they don't. So there's an old phrase about we never really understand somebody until we walk a mile in their shoes. What we need to do is try and make our language really congruent with the way in which our prospect likes to communicate, not in a manipulative way, not in an inauthentic way where we're pretending to be somebody we're not. Think of it more like we're actually learning a foreign language. Think about going into a different country and speaking the language so that people actually understand you. And that's really the best way to think about this. So what we use within Sandler is a way of assessing somebody's preferred communication and behavioral styles, which speaks to not only the way in which they like to talk and the way they like to talk with you, but also to their decision-making styles and the things they don't like, because that can also be extremely useful to understand when you're in any kind of an interaction, including a sales interaction, which is really what we're trying to get into here. So within Sandler, we use this thing called disc profiling, and disc profiling really identifies 4 different character traits. Now, before you say anything, I kind of think I know where you're coming from, because I felt this way as well, which is that it's grossly reductive, bordering on caricature, to suggest that human beings just fall into one of 4 different types. That's not what DISC says. What DISC is saying is that basically we've got these different characteristics and that we have all 4 of them in some sort of a different blend. So a good way of thinking about this is imagine that you've got a cocktail that's made out of 4 different ingredients. One of those ingredients is so dominant in the mix that that's pretty much the only thing you can taste sometimes. Other times, with different people and different cocktails, you can taste maybe 2 of the ingredients, but one of them is still the most dominant. That's still the main flavor that really comes through. Other times, you might even get 3 flavors that you can really pick out within the mix. But you can never really pick out all 4, but you know that even the 4th one is always still there somewhere in the mix, which means that we can all do all of the things that are relevant to all of these behaviors. It's just that some of them we're less comfortable with than others. So what does that look like? Well, if you can imagine that you've got on one side of a grid of 4 different characteristics, you've got extroverts, outgoing people who are really confident in interactions with other people. And down to the other end of that continuum, you've got people who are maybe a little bit more reserved, a little bit more reactive, maybe more introverted. Looking at the other axis on this continuum, you've got people who are very task focused. They are outcome driven. They want to know about things and stuff and how to get things done. At the other end, you've got more people-driven individuals. These are focused on people and team. Those are the sorts of things that they care about. So if you look at somebody who is both task-focused, outcome-driven, and extroverted, well, they're what we call a dominant characteristic, the D within the DISC. This is the dominant people. Now, they tend to be quite confident people. They're quite dynamic, they're decisive, they get things done. Some people might even see them as being aggressive or bombastic, depending on the situation and depending on their own personal communication style. The things that they like to be in control. They really hate to lose control. Never have a situation where they feel like they might not be in control, because actually they really don't like that. They also like you to communicate with them in a way that is short and sharp and to the point. Be brief, be bright, be gone. Then you've got your influencers. These are the I's within the DISC profile. These are still outgoing, but they're more people-focused. They're more fun-loving, and they tend to be quite creative and bubbly. They tend to talk quite fast. They might be very good at talking with their hands, like I'm doing right now. You will notice that they like to be included and they like to be involved. The thing they really hate, the thing that really disrupts them, is the fear of social rejection, the fear of actually not being included, the exact opposite of the thing that they like. Staying with people who are people-focused, but moving down towards the more reactive and introverted side of things, you've got our S's. These are our steady relators. These are lovely people. They're what I always refer to as nature's designated drivers. They're the people most likely to be making sure that everybody gets home in a taxi after a night out. They're the people who are most likely to be gluing a team together and making sure everybody is calm and that everything is stable. Because they like stability, the one thing they really hate is sudden, unplanned change. They like everything to be phased and measured. They're also incredibly loyal and most likely to be in jobs for a long time because of that loyalty and because they like stability. Staying with people who are more reserved and introverted, but more task-focused, we have our C's. These are compliant people, sometimes called conscientious people. Now the C players, the C conscientious, compliant people, they like detail. They like every I to be dotted, every T to be crossed. They like accuracy. And the thing they really hate, the thing that they really will push their buttons, is if somebody was to impugn their work, if somebody was to question their ability, because they like to be the experts, they like to be the go-to people, and they know detail. They will only ever express facts as facts, and they don't like unsupported opinions. So you can see how these different dominant styles might well actually influence people's communication style. Why is that useful to you? Because there is a great tool that you can plug into LinkedIn called Crystal. If you go to crystalknows.com, you will find the Crystal application, and it's a plugin for LinkedIn. The initial download will allow you to have a few free goes just to see what it's like. But you will very quickly find that what Crystal will do is it will give you an indication of what profile a prospect has got. It's around about 85% accurate, largely because there are some people who don't write their own profiles. So that 15% is a tolerance level for that. However, when most people do write their own profiles and their own content, you will find that Crystal will give you a very accurate reading on what their disc profile is. It will even give you some coaching notes on how to approach that person, what their particular language is, because if you're going to go and talk to somebody in that language, it's a good idea to understand how it is they like to be communicated to.